Hey guys, I'm at Feneborough Woods this morning with Rob and Steve, and we're going to do a foraging course. So Rob was just telling me about this fireweed here.
Rosebay willow herb, so is the proper name.
Right, it's an edible. There's shoots and things, so like when they're young, you can, that's probably going to be a little bit more bitter, is it?
Yeah, it's a bit
But
old,
it's
you
like
can
more
try
green.
it, but like you can actually, when they're young, so let's see if I can.
There's a soft one.
I'll go off camera shortly.
So like more red. It's going to be softer, whereas that's a little bit more bitter and a bit tougher. A little bit too tough.
You can eat them raw or cooked, so if you think of how you do an asparagus essentially.
Yeah, and they taste like asparagus a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's also great tinder, Rob was saying, sort of when it grows up and dries out.
Yeah. Actually, it's really good kindling too, so you actually get the, so these stalks, they're a bit like, if you think of like the fern stalks, the brown ones, when they're dry, you can snap them into nice little sized kindling.
Oh, okay.
You can do the same with fireweed stalks when they're dried out and done, So.
Right.
And we would have used a lot of them sort of, recently as well.
Yeah. That's a really useful one to know. And where is it?
Rosebay willow herb.
Yeah, and where does it sort of like, it's in the sort of like in the dead ground and things?
Yeah, so it likes disturbed ground, it's famous, if you will, for growing, where fire's been. So it's nicknamed fireweed, and then in London, during the Second World War, they called it bombweed.
Right,
Bombweed because it grew in the bombed out places, it would come back. So it's really versatile, robust plant as well. So.
Yeah, cool.
Of course, obviously quite easy recognisable. It's that famous shrub that is in the lawns and loves a bit of burning. But the petals are quite nice. Some people get like a coconut sort of flavour from it. Not everyone, because different palates. But the restaurant Dean's in Belfast, they do a gorse ice cream. Which is like a coconut sort of base. Also been used as a dye before. I believe there's like a type of beer and stuff they make with it as well.
It's quite, I'm getting a little bit of coconut, but it's, I don't know, slightly, almost like a citrus, but like not almost, I don't know, sort of like, there's a little bit of a tang to it.
Yeah, but like I said, I've had people that will say it doesn't taste of coconut.
So what was that called again, mate?
It's called Wood Speedwell, Veronicas. That stuff here. See?
Oh yeah. And that'd be for teas and things, is it?
Yeah, just the leaves. So tea's tea's one of my sort of favourite, for foraging for tea. I find it one of the best things to do because it's sort of, tea's so versatile and easy to sort of forage for as well.
Yeah.
I'd say there's probably at least 40 odd teas we can make in these woods at least, So over there we've got a plant called Herb Robert. Do you remember Herb Robert? No? Showed you Herb Robert. So that tea you can use externally on rashes and stuff. I'll show you over here. So it's called Herb Robert, but I don't know exactly where that name comes from, but the Latin name is rupra, which is sort of red or blood, and that's why you can see, gives you an idea because of like the stems look like these blood vessels. If you look down, if you open the plant up and you look at them, stems that look like blood vessels.
Yeah.
So that's where the Latin name comes from.
Oh, okay. And which bit's the edible? Or
so
is
it's
it tea?
Not. If you take a leaf, crush it, and smell it, and then you'll get you'll see what sort of smell you get from it. Strong.
Yeah. Just really fresh. It's quite sort of fresh, sort of like.
So,
I wouldn't say.
Like you could use it like that, but the tea. It's not a tea that it doesn't dry out well. So like the way you would use it is you can use the sprigs directly in the hot water, but it's good for like ulcers. If you had dental work, gum issues, you can use it as a mouthwash. Oh, wow. If you've had X-rays, but then you could use it cold or externally on little cuts and grazes. The plant itself was used by gardeners. You just rub it on cuts and stings and stuff. The smell is the main defence. and that helps against midges. So you can put it on your against midges, Herb Robert as well.
That's the one with the pink.
These ones, yeah. It's geranium family. Good thing about that is, and again, always something to always, bear in mind is stuff that's all year round is always good. Do you know what I mean? Like that, you've pretty much got this all year round in the woods.
It's got a real multitude of uses, that there.
Oh yeah. But I think every plant that we're going to look at is the same. It's like there's probably not. I can't even cover. Otherwise, I'd stand at the plant all day. There's a book called 101 Things You Can Do with Nettles. So I just tell people there's a book that's tell you all about that stuff rather than because nettles are the best. Nettles are the best ones we've got because it's easy to ID. It's abundant. It has two major times a year that it's sort of out. You've got like a spring push and then an autumn push, so which brings you into sort of almost all seasons. So like the nettle, it's a pure survival food. It has like 22% protein.
Wow.
It's like you could survive. You could die of starvation if you ate just rabbits, but you could survive off nettles alone. Do you know what I mean?
That's crazy.
So
I've never actually tried like nettle tea and different things with
I'm
nettle
not-
and soups and whatever.
I'm not too keen on the tea. I like the soup.
Yeah.
Yeah, or I just cook it off like as spinach. So
Oh,
any heat just gets rid of the sting.
Gets rid of this thing.
Yeah, so you can just collect it. Obviously wear gloves.
Yeah.
Common sense thing, and then just bung it into a pan.
Boil it down.
Yeah. Or like I just fry it off. So I'll just everything
So
I
it's
do.
like just wilting it down like
Yeah.
you would spinach sort of.
Yeah,
thing,
yeah. I literally do the exactly the same. So I actually sometimes mix it with spinach.
Oh, okay.
So I just have the cast iron pan, bit of oil.
Yeah.
Buck the nettle in there. Job done.
I'll have to try it.
The soup I sort of do is like it's more of a potato-based soup,
Yeah.
and then the nettle's just blended into it,
Yeah.
and that's it really.
Yeah,
Just
nice.
gives it a bit that texture.
Rob was just telling me this is wild raspberry. And what's one of the identifying features, Rob?
So if you look at the stem, there's some little purple, almost thorns. It's not like bramble,
Yeah, just
where
on the
the brambles
stem there.
has very the thorns are a lot sort of yeah.
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 But then
So
the young
over
leaf
here-
tastes like raspberry.
That's bramble. If you look at the thorns, that's quite different, more aggressive. That's bramble.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the older strawberry, raspberry, when they're older like that, they're completely smooth. That's yarrow. Right, so
Medicinal.
yeah, it's. So I would say we've got like sort of five or so. I mean, there's
That one
loads
there?
of medicinal plants. Yeah, there's loads of sort of medicinal aspects to a lot of the plants that we use, but yarrow is probably one of the top 5. For like it can really do a lot of good. The Latin name's Achilles, and that's because Achilles he used to treat the wounds of the myrmidons with yarrow.
Is it?
It will stop bleeding. And actually, if you cut yourself, you can pug it with yarrow, and it will stop the bleeding.
Wow.
It's an amazing plant.
It's incredible. It's cool. It's just really like
Fern-like.
yeah,
almost.
fern-like. Yeah, a really young sort of fern.
Yeah.
Sort of like shoot, isn't it? Soft. So
Nice smell. You can use it like like it's it's good sort of
herbal.
herbage as well, just for you could sprinkle onto,
It does have a really sort of herby sort of
Yeah.
smell to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's not like quite dill-like,
No.
but it's, sort of points in that direction there. So this is the first today, the carrot family, which is like the most important family to know when foraging because it's so treacherous.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
What are some of the main features? Have you got
Okay,
giant
so
hogweed up
obviously,
here?
so talking of giant hogweed, so giant hogweed is obviously, we want to avoid giant hogweed. I haven't seen it here locally, although I know obviously it is in Northern Ireland because councils would fence it off, but giant hogweed, so if we, some of the differences, so the stem, once it's up, giant hogweed could have a stem like a wine bottle thickness, grows up to 5 metres high, whereas common hogweed's like 1.5 metres, 2 max,
So it literally is just
Yeah.
the size of it
So,
almost.
well, obviously, once you get to that point, size is how you differentiate. But when it's young, is
Yeah,
where
you wouldn't
you've got to look
necessarily.
at other things. So, with giant hogweed, the umbels of the flowers right, they'll be like the size of a plate.
Wow.
Whereas common hogweed, it's more like a little saucer.
Okay.
You know. Also the leaves. Yeah, if you look, you sort of look vertically down, flat onto the leaf, and you see fluff.
But not on giant hogweed, or?
No, it'll be almost bald or
feel it.
barely nothing.
It's like a felt.
Yeah. Now some people can get irritated by common hogweed, but I've never personally seen that.
Yeah.
Because it's the same sap but weaker, so it's not really gonna affect. So, but what I do is when I'm harvesting common hogweed, I'm doing quite a lot, so I just wear gloves anyway. Because usually I'll be harvesting some nettles or whatnot. So just sort of a bit of forward thinking. Another thing you can sort of see, I find, is that the bristles on common hogweed on the stems, they kind of sort of in a downward sort of fashion. Can you see?
Okay.
If you look at the stem, the bristles on the stem, they're
Oh,
sort
I
of pointing
see.
downwards.
Yeah.
Whereas on giant hogweed, they're very they're a lot longer, a lot more, and they're
Prominent.
sort of more more
horizontal.
horizontal. You know.
And what's the uses for the?
So if you
common
look at those,
hogweed?
can you see the shoots, the young shoots?
Yeah.
So these ones here.
So that one there, where
these-
these still
these
coming out.
two there,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So those are what we harvest to eat. Now you can't eat them raw, you cook them. So I put them in the pan. Again, think of asparagus, how you'd cook them. And they are really, really nice, like really nice. And you can actually keep chopping this back and they'll just keep coming.
These are
Really
vetch,
good.
and they taste like garden peas.
So this is all nipplewort coming up there. But as the leaves sort of change a little bit as it gets
Yeah.
bigger.
But like you say, it's real sort of like just like a fresh sort of like salad
Yeah.
leaf. Ground ivy.
It's
It
common
looks
as well
like
all year
lungs on
round.
the back.
Probably about a month ago it would have sort of retreated. It never seems to really,
That's potent.
yeah.
Real menthol sort of smell when
It
you
never
crush
really
it.
retreats fully.
It's good for respiratory.
You get like a, you know.
So this
Yeah.
whole leaf,
Yeah.
squash it up.
So when I initially I was always like, it's kind of coffee somewhere, you know, that's where I was sort of going with the smell. And then I had a young lad, he says, it smells like bacon crisps. I was like, yeah.
I've lost it. It was really strong the first time I smelt it, and now it doesn't smell anymore. It's like
And then
it's
I had a guy yesterday, he was getting some really interesting smells. He was like,
I'm not
he
smelling like
said
a
it
bacony
smelled
sort
like,
of smell.
he said like tomato,
Yeah. I'm
like,
not-
you know, like the green bit of tomato.
Yeah.
Which I thought was good as well. That was a very good sort of, don't you think?
Yeah.
the
I can
green of
smell that-
tomato.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm not getting like that bacony smell though.
and is that
Because the guy,
salad?
this kid was like, oh, frazzles.
What would you use that for?
But so figwort is it's a medicinal. I believe there's a tea that's used for like internal issues. It is one of the plants, you know, I've known about. The reason I always show people is because there's a plant called woundwort, which is really important medicinal that I, you know, sort of probably push more as a medicinal plant, and figwort sits in the background. But they both have the same smell pretty much, whereas woundwort has a more of a fluffier leaf and has a flower spike. But figwort, there's more uses obviously than just the tea. But yeah, it's a medicinal.
What's this one?
Wild garlic.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Which you can always smell
Yeah.
from a mile away anyway.
We've got tons of it here. But they like again, it has different sort of phases of use. So we use like the flower buds for cooking a lot.
Yeah.
The leaves we would probably use in March. And then after the leaves we start harvesting buds, and then after that we've got the seeds. The seeds are really nice as well. So they're almost like, you know, the size of a coriander seed, but they sort of pop.
Okay.
So they've got that sort of, you know, they're like, you know, like how cherry tomato would sort of
Yes.
that juice, and that's what those seeds are like. So you've got this garlic like explosion. So they're really nice. You know how to tell, Ash, didn't you? Black buds.
Black buds, yeah.
So the black buds you can harvest around April time,
Okay.
and you can make. It's like it's not a tincture per se, but it's like an infusion. So essentially, you'd fill like a jar up with the black buds, put in 2 parts vodka to 1 part veg glycerin. And veg glycerin you use for breaking down oil and water-based products.
Okay.
What it does is, and you leave that for a few weeks, for about 5 weeks, like a tincture,
Yeah.
and then it's a painkiller for really good for like back pain and stuff like that. The leaves you can use for tea. Leaves will get rid of like fever, temperature, stuff like that. The bark used to be used to get rid of fever, and then they replaced it. So a lot of plants and that in foraging, they're like forgotten about plants that were replaced by like newer sort of more, you know, plants that can be cultivated more, you know. So they brought in these quinoa and conchona trees for the bark of ash, and that's what they use for the fever as well. The keys, or samaras, some people put, so samaras are basically seeds that have like a sort of a bit of vegetation around them. So if you think of like sycamore samaras, they have like the little seed in the helicopter. So these have the samaras too. They call them keys. You can make capers out of them, like, so you can pick one. So I'm doing that tomorrow, hopefully. They're supposed to. It's olive tree family, isn't it?
So the dieback and stuff has been like.
Yeah, but what's amazing, right next door, this tree, nothing. It's the same ash. So like I've always been under the impression it's quite sort of infects all the ash, but it's right next to it. So.
Crazy, isn't it?
But then, you know, there's always a lot of way. Like elm's made a good. There's lots of elm in these woods. You know, elm's made a good comeback. You know, after Dutch elm's disease.
So we're just going to cook up some food and enjoy some of our foraged edibles. Well guys, that's us for another day. Thanks to Steve and Rob for this foraging course and being out here today. And I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you want to see more foraging, leave a comment below, and see you again next time. Bye guys.
Yeah.
Bye. That was the worst bye ever. For me.
Bye.
Steve Reed, ready for another.
Best part of foraging, Tom is going to cook for us.
Well, I'm going to try.
He's going to try.